Hey guys, it's midday and I'm putting some of the stuff that we talked about in our recent What's in the Box on this block. This is my 5.0 roller motor from a 1988 Mustang GT that I picked up from the J side. Pretty standard motor here. This is not going to have an EFI system on it. That was kind of thrown around at the very start of this build, but I decided just for the sake of getting this car running as quick as and dirty and cheap as we could get it, we're going to go carbureted because I have an intake and a carb here. But a few things that I am doing with this motor before it goes in is it's going to get cleaned up. It's going to get a full regasket, top and bottom, including head gaskets, oil pans, and all that, because I don't want to dump oil everywhere I go. And it's a bit of a mystery, the condition and mileage of this motor. So I'm going to do kind of just the basic minimum amount of effort into this to get this up and running, because past that, it could blow up 20 minutes into a hellacious burnout, or it might run for another 20, 30,000 miles. I don't really know, but I'm not going to dump a ton of money into this motor just yet. But some of the money I did spend on this, and we talked about in a recent What's in the Box, was on the Boss Copy oil pan that required a special pickup tube that came with it, and that's this here that I talked about. This is actually going to go down and sit underneath the oil pan, or oil pan baffle. I have a brand new oil pump on here. I have a brand new rear main seal that I just put in here. Super easy on this car. It's got a one-piece rear main seal that just kind of slides out the back. You grab it with a little hook and pull it out and push the new one in. So that's what's going on in here. I'm not replacing the timing chain or I'm not replacing cam seals or the cam right now. The main bearings look pretty healthy. They've got some miles on them, but they're not destroyed. So I will reuse them for now. Like our harmonic balancer is pretty whipped on this. I'll probably have to replace that at some point, but I think it'll be enough to get the car up and running and doing some burnouts. So I will continue on, hopefully with less injury than last weekend, and you'll be along for the ride. So there's that. Alright, so the oil pan is just kind of sitting on here roughly. We got the new oil pan gaskets, and I just kind of want to talk about a Ford OEM part that I'm going to be using. This was on the original oil pan. These are like a big long washer. This has the same layout and bolt pattern of the oil pan for obviously the underside of the motor. It's just a really cool engineered piece that otherwise you might be using all bolts with washers for each one of these, and I'm still going to use a bolt with a washer, but because this whole piece of steel is stretching from screw hole to screw hole to screw hole, your holding power isn't just over top of the hole in the oil pan pressing down. You actually have this entire thing works like a big clamp, so you actually will get more even clamping force around the whole oil pan. So you probably don't have to tighten it down as much to stop leaks, and it's probably just a lot more consistent. I haven't owned one of these motors personally for a long time to say, oh yes, it's an amazing idea and great, but being somebody who works on stuff with bolts all the time, it's certainly a great idea. And I like subtle stuff here, which is going to be really hard to make out. Maybe I'll get a picture of it later, but it says 5.0 L stamped in it, so this is for a 5-liter motor, and I just think that kind of stuff is neat. There's two, there's one for either side, and they just kind of set on there like that. As you can see, it just drops right in. All the screw holes line up, and then we're just going to start zapping that down. sump oil pan on. So I had a couple extra minutes here to do something that's a little uncharacteristic of me. I like things to work, and I'm not really too worried about shiny all that often, but I don't like things to be intentionally ugly. And I've got these original valve covers, or rocker boxes, that were on the Mustang motor when I got it. And they're a really nice piece. They're a Ford factory part. They're cast aluminum. They're actually pretty heavy for an aluminum valve cover. And they're nice and flat on the surface area, so they seal really well, and they're pretty rigid, so you don't have to worry about problems. And they got a nice oil cap that sticks way up taller than it needs to. But they're free, they're here, and I can make them look a little bit better than this does right now. So I took a few minutes, hit them with that wire wheel, and as you can see here, this is looking quite a bit better. It took a lot of that rust, or in aluminum's case, it's oxidization off, and all that pitting. It still looks pretty rough. You can see a lot of brushed finish on it. I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to leave that wire wheel rough brush finish on there, or if I'm going to take a little bit of time and actually hand work this a little bit. It's something that I've done a lot in my career, is finishing metal to look nice and consistent. But usually it's not as easy to work on as aluminum is. It's usually some kind of tool steel that's really, really hard. And this stuff really does, aluminum will hand work up really nicely, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. Some sandpaper, a little bit of solvent, and or any kind of cleaning solution to just keep your sandpaper wet, a little Scotch-Brite at the end to finish it, and then honestly I could probably do this whole valve cover in about an hour with a buff wheel and some jeweler's compound or jeweler's rouge, and these would look really, really nice. I tend to favor a bead blasted look on aluminum. I think it looks really nice. It brings out like a little bit of a luster without being overly brilliant looking. And I know that I get picked on a lot because I make things out of aluminum, and no one likes billet anymore. But that's too bad, because it's easy to work with and it's cheap, and I make things out of aluminum and I work with what's there. So just deal with that, all you anti-billeters. I'm not going to make them out of rusty steel. So there's that. Alright guys, as we can see, we're wrapping up the weekend. We got a nice little assemblage here. We got stuff just sitting loosely on top of the wet paint. Let's go down what we did this weekend. We put together a rolling-ish motor. We got a new oil pump in here. The water pump is not on. I'm going to wait for the water pump and the intake are going to go on once this paint is dried, and that's going to be sometime during the week. We got our valve covers sitting on here. The heads are on. That's all torqued down. We got new gaskets in everywhere that applies. Push rods are in and cleaned up. I'd say that this motor is ready to come down the final stretch of assembly. I think it's been a pretty productive week. We got a lot coming up this next week. Got a lot of parts coming in. Everything that I should need, all the big stuff, is either here right now or will be here this week. We've got another order coming in from, let's see, we got Speedway, Scarebird, Rock Auto, Mustang Steve. I've got a couple projects that I'll be working on over the next few weeks that I'm going to have some nice in-depth build breakdowns on, and some really cool tech. So stay, keep your eyes open for that. There's going to be some really cool stuff. It's going to apply to the Falcon, but it's also going to apply to, like, a lot of the stuff I'm doing to all the early Fords. I've got another person that we're going to do a little road trip. We're going to go check out his garage probably in the next week or two. And some of the stuff that I'm doing, we're going to basically, we're test muling this to get it ready for a much nicer car that's getting a lot of these same projects done to it down the road. I'll give you a little teaser. It's a family member of mine. If you know me or you know any of the family members, there's some really pretty cars that reside in other garages not too far from here that I'm going to be cracking the whip on some people to quit lollygagging around in their same old they've been driving for nearly 40 years. You can only put so much jewelry on a car before you make it more fun to actually drive. But that's it for me for now. We got some paint, we got some stuff, and I'm done for the weekend, and I'm gonna wash my hands, and I'm gonna go inside, and I'll see you next time. I'm Ben. This is Wrench Fetish New York. Keep those wrenches spinning and those grinders a-flying. See you next time.